Good morning, St. Francis. Good morning, people of God. It is Tuesday, the 27th day of August, 2024, Tuesday of the 21st week of the year, 21st week in Ordinary Time. It is also a day in which we honor the memory of Monica, the mother of Augustine, the one who constant nagging prayers, whatever it was, finally enabled him to become a Christian and to embrace the faith. And that way he becomes a bishop and all these other kinds of things like that. She's always a great sign of perseverance. For mothers wanting their children to become one thing. She may have nagged a lot, it seems. She may have done a whole bunch of things like this, but in the end, she was successful because, again, of her love for her son and the love for this faith that she wanted her son also to possess. Again, it took time. It took effort. It wasn't matter of fact. It wasn't over and done with. Unfortunately, what also happens, though, is that Augustine becomes a little bit crazy and so begins to say all kinds of things that kind of that have led us now into this place that we live in our faith that might not always be the best, might always be the best way to understand their faith, and we still labor under that. And was it Monica's fault that Augustine became this way? We don't want to say that, but again, it could have been the fact that, again, her opinion of the faith and what she wanted in her son about the faith might have been something, again, that caused him to really become more scrupulous in his life and more thinking that, he was worse off than he was, before he embraces Christ. So all these kinds of things have to figure in. We just remember all strong mothers, again, who work to try to do what is best for their children and who never give up on their children like Monica did, or like Monica didn't. Okay, so... in our readings for today, Thessalonians continues. And here again, it's a very interesting kind of a thing that Paul offers for the Thessalonians, not to be misled by things by like letters that are said to be from him, or that the day of the Lord is at hand. Again, in the letter to the church at Thessalonica, Paul talks about the end times, and again, the fact that Christ will return. And the Thessalonians basically think it's imminent, and so they stop working and all kinds of things like that. And Paul has to kind of say, no, it's coming, but it's not tomorrow. So still work, still do what you do, and all these kinds of things like that. So again, the wisdom to be able to discern things that are of God and things that are not of God. A lot of people say this, that, or the other thing about God many times, and many times it's all just conjecture. It's all just their personal agendas. It's all just them wanting to do, wanting to say and do things to make themselves important, to make themselves think as if they have a one-up on what it is that God wants and what it is that God desires of us. And Paul cautions against that, especially the Thessalonians not being misled in many ways by what it is that that people say that God is doing and what God is all about. Again, if we know anything, our God wants us to have life and wants us to live without fear and wants us to be able to love and to forgive and embrace each other as brothers and sisters. And if any message runs contrary to that or tries to manipulate that or in some ways dilute that, then it cannot be a message from God. And the same way that Paul warns the Thessalonians about this, so too we are warned, even in this day, to be careful. Again, such craziness and lunacy sometimes that kind of surrounds our faith. In the gospel today, again, the great woes against the Pharisees continue. This is the whole thing with Pharisees, basically just showing outward appearances that seem to be, holy and devout and all kinds of things like that. But inside, it's like they are terrible, horrible people. And so, and that's the reality too. Sometimes, again, amongst those who project, again, not just a holier than thou attitude, but basically a holiness that people want to flock to because the externals just look so good. People running around in habits, just makes them all holy. People basically who find themselves praying from the Blessed Sacrament all the time, having hands clasped, eyes closed. They've got to be holy. They've got to be holy. And they may be in some ways, but again, what Jesus is warning us is that there's a lot more to somebody than just externals. Always. Again, it's judging by deeds. It's judging by character. It's judging by relationships. Again, we have a relationship with God. We also have a relationship with each other and with ourselves. And if all of our time is spent basically with just eyes closed, hands clasped in churches and in chapels, we are losing out on one half of the importance of relationships in our lives. We have to be people, again, who not only demonstrate outwardly, what it means to be a part of the life of God, but also that in our own lives, that life of God shines shines forth in the connections that we make with each other, in the love that we share with each other. A blessed day, St. Francis and people of God. May the Lord give you his peace.